Tonight. Elon Musk said he found out after he bought the social media giant.
The degree to which various government agencies had effectively had full access to everything that was going on Twitter blew my mind.
He told Fox's Tucker Carlson they're working on encrypting direct messaging now. Musk also said he's concerned about the future of artificial intelligence. He wants to see it regulated now.
We only put in regulations after something terrible has happened. It may be too late to actually put the regulations in place. The AI may be in control at that point.
More of Musk on the Tuesday edition of Tucker Carlson Tonight on Fox. Jill Nato, Fox News. A large group of teenagers flooding in the area of downtown Chicago over the weekend prompted a large police response.
In Chicago, for 3 nights in a row, hundreds of teenagers flooded the streets of the city's downtown. Witnesses describe absolute chaos as a mob-like group of mostly teenagers and younger people stormed the streets, smashing car windows and even attacking one driver. 2 teens were also hospitalized after being shot. It took hundreds of police officers with the help of SWAT teams to eventually get things under control. Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson says he doesn't condone the activity, but in a statement added, quote, "It is not constructive to demonize youth who have otherwise been starved of opportunities."
Fox's Jeff Paul. In playoff action, the Sacramento Kings take a 2-0 lead over the Warriors.
Drive and kick. Mitchell. Here's Fox. Oh, yeah!
That call on TNT as the Kings top Golden State Monday night, 114-106 on the ice. The LA Kings beat the Edmonton Oilers in overtime 4-3, and the game just ending, the Minnesota Wild double overtime over the Dallas Stars 3-2. Carmen Roberts, this is Fox News.
Join us at Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro and see why they've been crowned Guam's best Chamorro food restaurant for 9 consecutive years. Experience Chef Peter's candied salmon over scallion coconut rice, octopus tinactac, Chamorro platter, and their award-winning gourmet burgers. Or if you're looking for something healthy, try their keto-friendly menu. Come and enjoy Mezcla's half-a-day service at their Hagåtña location from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch, 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. for dinner, or 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. for their famous Sunday brunch.
Always can help you. This island's our home. To live with our friends to never we have known. Now we're banking on the future. More services to do. Bank Pacific, where others put flags and we trace rules. Viva! Bank Pacific!
Half a day. This is Clara Manglona from Security Title with an important warning. Wire fraud is real, and home buyers and sellers are one of the biggest targets, even on Guam. When sending money by wire transfer, be sure to confirm the wire instructions by phone, not email. In this case, it's good to be suspicious and know who you're dealing with. Let the professionals at Security Title work with you to minimize loss due to wire fraud. We are here to help.
Welcome to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, the only show on talk radio where common sense is a lot more common. Phone lines are now open at 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, The Point proudly brings you Tall Tales with Senator Bob Klitzkie.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's what I always say, and I'm going to keep on saying it. Give me a second here to see if I can get somehow connected with Facebook. I really appreciate all of the comments that you folks put up on Facebook, and it really makes the show very interesting to see what now I gotta have a password. Facebook never wants to make it easy. So, Jose, tell me a little bit about Facebook and why I hate it so much.
It loves you. It loves collecting your information, your all your vital statistics, And you can't change them.
Yeah. No matter what, no matter
Actually,
how much you want to.
You can be whoever you want to on Facebook because it's not an official document.
You could be whoever you want to?
Well, whomever.
Whomever you want to. How about whatever?
That too.
Yeah. So
people have their pets on Facebook, Bob.
Really?
I don't know how they log in. No thumbs.
Well, I've got Facebook here, and it's this morning's Ray Gibson show. And I have to fight this every day. Am I doing something wrong, Jose?
I'm not sure. Let me think here. I can go in there, Bob. Give me a second.
And we cannot advance judges or legislation with a missing person.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to do this here.
I'm a little bit behind, though, Jose. Yeah.
We'll make it up in the halftime.
You know, I wave I'm going to snap my fingers and then see how long it takes before it shows up on my screen. Yeah, it's right there now. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, good. All right, enough of this nonsense. It's Tall Tales time. And I'm going to start out with Zemi Ikotny, but there's so much there. It's going to take me a little while to unpack it today. By the way, I have something that you might want to take a look at. Put me on the side camera for a second, Jose. This is what's called a newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one on Guam. Once upon a time, we had 2 newspapers on Guam, but one of them seemed to want to self-destruct by running crappy editorials, biased news stories, strange newsprint that looked like they bought it on a surplus sale from Hallmark. And then saying, well, you really don't need a newspaper on Saturday and Sunday, so we're going to hold it down to 5 days. And today's editorial, you know, I've seen some pretty bad ones, but this one may be the Academy Award winner. Now, I've got some Voltaire quotes here, and I suspect that sometime in the show, our duty Frenchman will call in and tell us about the greatness of Voltaire. For now, I can tell you this: Voltaire is not the name of some new electric vehicle that Elon Musk is putting out on the road. But this is what Voltaire said. Anyone who has the power to make you believe absurdities has the power to make you commit atrocities. And this is the theme that's going to run through this section of the program. I'll repeat. Anyone who has the power to make you believe absurdities has the power to make you commit atrocities. If you remember 1984, the protagonist was finally convinced, quote unquote, that 2 and 2 equaled 5. Okay, so here we go. And to lay the foundation for this editorial today, I've got to pick up on something from from Town Hall, and it's called Where's Helen Reddy? Singer, a songstress. She was a female. A male singer is a singer. A female singer is a songstress. And you're one or the other. You can't be both. You can't be neither. You can't be something else. You could be a non-singer, I guess, right? And here's how it goes. Where's Helen Reddy? Yes, I know that Mrs. Reddy passed away in 2020. The question posed in this missive goes beyond the obvious. And of course, this is what attracted me to it right away, because that's tall tales. We don't dwell on the obvious here, do we, Jose?
Nope.
Helen Reddy gained great fame as a feminist and activist who sang the 70s song, I Am Woman. How far would a song like that get today, Jose?
Well, it would be double the time because they'd have to put all the other pronouns next to it.
Yeah. I remember that song, and I'm sure many of us do as well.
It's not inclusive.
It was the defining song of the feminist movement. There was a time when the feminist movement was inhabited by, guess what, Jose?
Women?
Females. Yeah, strange as it may seem. And here are some of the lyrics. If I had to, I can do anything. I am strong. I'm invincible. I am woman. That's, let's, where is that? I can sign up for that. I'll go out on the road and carry a sign and cheer and the whole thing. That's what women are all about. They used to be. However, now it appears there's so much confusion about a woman is. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson could not answer the question during her confirmation hearing. Oops, did I use the proper pronoun? Her confirmation hearing. Going down south, I remember when girls basketball played half court, 3-on-3. There were 3 players designated to play offense and 3 to play defense. That's the way it was when I was in high school. Girls basketball. And they could only dribble twice, bounce the ball twice. That was it. Because they were frail, right? Women were frail. Yeah, ask Brittany Greer about how frail they are, right? They did not cross the half-court line, but played their respective positions in the half-court. We just witnessed record attendance for the NCAA Women's Final Four, held right here in my home in Dallas. This is Alan West that's writing this. You remember Alan West? Yeah. The television viewing audience broke records as well, and I was one of them. I was riveted watching LSU, Iowa, South Carolina, and Virginia Tech in both semifinal and final games. It was a full-court marvel, and the LSU women scored 102 points against Iowa in the championship game. I'll admit the women's NCAA championship game was more thrilling than men's, where UConn defeated San Diego State.
UConn's a good team. Well,
Well, I guess if you go along with the con. I attended the University of Tennessee and remember watching while there and over the years an icon women's college basketball, Pat Summitt. I'll bet that girl went right to the top. All of this is a result of the fight for Title IX to bring about equality of opportunity and fairness in competition for women's sports. I am sure Helen Reddy was pleased. However, in this day and age, we now have biological male cowards who struggle as male athletes, claiming to be female and competing against women. The most notable among them is William Thomas, who is a male swimmer, was 462nd in the nation. 461 swimmers were better than he. Or excuse me, better than them. I'm not going to do that. That is so crazy and so confusing. Suddenly he competes against female athletes and wins NCAA championships. Last month, Women's History Month, no less, Thomas was recognized and has even had a Sports Illustrated cover. I'm sure Helen Reddy would be scratching her head. To top this, we now have an accomplished female swimmer, Riley Gaines, who actually tied Mr. Thomas, but did not get the placement because she was attacked by biological females wearing dresses. Excuse me, biological males wearing dresses. Anyone who has the power to make you believe absurdities has the power to make you commit atrocities. So these men, swimmers, beat up Riley Gaines. Why? Well, for the crime of being a female speaking out against biological males competing against females. See if you do not embrace and support the leftist ideological agenda, systemic racism, and comply with the gender dysphoria delusion, you are the one who is wrong. Not only that, killing is also justified. Once again, anyone who has the power to make you believe absurdities has the power to make you commit atrocities. A biological female named Audrey Elizabeth Hale fell under the gender dysphoria spell and considered herself a male. The state of Tennessee passed legislation and signed into law to protect children from gender mutilation surgeries, puberty blockers, hormonal therapies, as well as these insidious and disturbing all ages drag queen performances. Hale, who was 28, decided after careful planning to carry out an attack against her former school, Covenant Christian Academy. She was armed with 3 weapons, 2 semi-automatic weapons. Well, I could stop right there. That's the end of the story, right? And a handgun, and shot her way into the school, gunning down 6 individuals: Evelyn Dickhouse, Haley Scruggs, William Kinney, Cynthia Peake, Catherine Kuntz, and Mike Hill. The first 3 were 9 years old. In other words, a biological female suffering from a mental condition called gender dysphoria shot and killed 2 little girls and 2 women in cold blood as part of a premeditated attack, in addition to a little boy and a black man. I guess Mike Hill's was not a Black Lives That Matters. To this date, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, no one in the Biden administration has called out their names. But Madonna and Miley Cyrus want to have fundraisers for the gender dysphoria community in Nashville. Does that make you sick or what?
So much for the victims.
Sadly, White House spokesperson Karen Jean-Pierre, I guess Karen Jean-Pierre will appreciate my Voltaire quote, right? Stated 3 days after the national shooting, they want us to forget their freedoms. It's disturbing, and our hearts go out to those in the trans community as they are under attack right now. But this is a president who has said many times before he has their backs. He will continue to have their backs, and he will continue to fight for them, and his record shows them. In other words, Riley Gaines can be attacked, and 9-year-olds can be gunned down. their constitutional rights and inalienable right to life matters little when it comes to the ideological agenda of leftism and its gender dysphoric allies. Women's sports can be ruined as long as we cower to the delusion of less than 1% of this country. Yeah, I think I heard on Ray's show it's like 0.3% of the people in this country are males pretending to be females or vice versa. I'm not going to use this transgender word anymore. Helen Reddy once saying, "I am woman. Hear me roar." Now we have biological males roaring and masquerading as being better women than women. Being the dad to two women, married to a woman, the son of a woman, well, that's just FUBAR, steadfast and loyal. So, so here's another one from Voltaire that really fits the Biden Obama administration, the third Biden and Obama administration. The more often a stupidity is repeated, the more it gets the appearance of wisdom. Now, I haven't even got the editorial yet. That was just the foundation. But then let me see who I've got online here. Senator Duenas on the topic. Okay, well, I'm going to let Senator Duenas in, but I've got an awful lot more to say about this. Hello, Senator Duenas.
Happy day, Your Honor, Honorable Marine, Honorable Senator, my favorite talk show host. I'll make this a 50 comment, but
hey, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Could I hang up and ask you to call back?
Sure, for sure. But I know that the entire green room will always make sure that everything I have to say is reinforced in terms of your reaching.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
This conflicts with don't overstate the obvious, Bob.
Yeah, well, you know me. I'm so proud of my humility. Go ahead, Chris.
You know, like you said, I'll make this comment 50, but I think that, I caught something on Brian Kilmeade's show today earlier while I was on the road, and this is going way deeper, Your Honor, and I think it's something that tailgaters and our families really need to start concentrating on. This is no longer just an issue of sports and the issue of the ridiculousness of allowing biological males to compete at that level or against biological females, everything that goes along with it. But the guest that Brian Kilmeade had on said something that was completely alarming, and they were talking about this subject on a national scale. And the athlete you were talking about earlier, the swimmer, this is now, and polls are showing that girls and young ladies across the nation, they've done polls, and they're so depressed now and so lost in terms of understanding who they are now as females. This is exactly the destruction and exactly the Marxist program and everything now what this was designed to do. This is not just affecting the young ladies and those competing in the sports now. It's going all the way down to elementary children, young girls. It's taking the whole feminist movement and everything about what it meant to be a woman, a female, a girl, and just throwing it out the window. So this is way more huge than what's being purported right now, and we've got to rile against it because it literally is something that's taking away the self-esteem of young girls, of young ladies growing up, everything that's been fought for them to understand their individuality, who they are as women, where they fit in our society, and what, who and what they are. It's very dangerous, and we need to fight against it. I just wanted to let you know also with Parkinson's bill, if it makes it to the floor, I'm voting absolutely no on it, and I will make remarks about it as well.
Good for you, Chris. My epiphany happened last week, and I'll give it to you in short form. We've been talking about women and girls sports and all the rest of this stuff, but it finally dawned on me It goes back to the Students for Democratic Society in the 60s and their approach to things. And it's this: the issue is never the issue. The issue is the revolution. So those who would create chaos in our community, the cultural Marxists amongst us, will do everything they can to create chaos. And what you just mentioned is exactly what they're aiming at. To get people,
Absolutely.
to get children, to get young girls so mixed up, that people become desperate and they look anywhere for something that they can grab a hold of. And this is where the Marxists come in. Well, we've got this, you don't have to do this. We've got this utopia waiting for you. And that's what it's about. So Brian's exactly right. And this is not something, that we just it's not something we just kind of shrug off or giggle about a little bit, because it's a serious threat to our society, not because of these people trying to pretend that they're something they're not, but because of the way they have infected, and I'm using that word advisedly, infected society, so that people who don't care about the issue at all will riot in the streets because, well, it's the right thing to do. And I believe in human rights, and this is a just cause. So if I have to break a few bones in order to support that cause, that's what we have to do. And that's where we are now, Chris.
Well, it's that, and absolutely why, because I know that tailgaters roll like this. And I think the kids are having the confusion now because moms and dads aren't standing up and railing against it.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's what we've got to stop. We've got to put our foot down on this one and just be clear. And if it takes laws, it's going to take laws. But the fact of the matter is that this. And look at how short of a period of time, Your Honor, that it's taken to do this, to get to the point to where all these polls are showing now that 60% of these young ladies, young girls, individuals who just they don't even know who they are anymore, because basically males, masquerading as females, have taken over their identity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sick, Chris, and that's why I'm spending so much time with this editorial, because the Daily News wants to be the Westpac distributor of all of this woke nonsense, and that's exactly what they're doing with this editorial today.
It's straight out propaganda, but I'll continue to listen, Your Honor. But like I said, the start for me will be voting against Won't's bill, and if we need a bill here to clear up the sports issues, I have no problem introducing it. I'm really tired of this stuff, and I'm tired of the fact that this is how fast this kind of movement could go. That we're going to destroy an entire generation and multiple generations to come, and maybe even our fabric of our society as it is. All the advances that women, young girls, and those have made, the strides to be the fabric of our society, mother of our children, and everything it takes for us to be who we are, to be just destroyed in one fell swoop like that, because it's so quick to just make them get confused and not understand, and they're impressionable at that time. So if hundreds of thousands and millions of young ladies start feeling this way, we're really in big trouble.
True enough, Chris. Thanks for chiming in.
Thanks, Your Honor, for the opportunity to take a little time with you. I'll listen to the balance of the show. Looking forward to it.
Okay, let's take a short break, and we'll come back to the actual editorial.
In an uncertain world, you have to stay a step ahead. Pro Se 101 provides you with the legal documents you need to protect yourself and your family. With Pro Se 101, you can access a variety of do-it-yourself legal documents to save you time and money. Wills, trusts, divorce, power of attorney, and much more. They also offer free marriage and relationship counseling. Call 800-303-9240 to learn more. That's 800-303-9240. Or visit PROSE101.com.
Always here to help you. This island is our home. Through the years, we've been a friend to the neighbors we have known. Now we're banking on the future. No services to choose. Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
return to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, soaring over the confusion with his superpowers of truth. Call 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
So here we go. This is the Daily News editorial. Our view: support bill allowing birth certificate change. Senator William Parkinson has introduced a bill that would allow people to change the sex designations on their birth certificates through court order. Guam law currently allows the sex designation to be modified only if someone has had surgery to change their sex. And I got to stop right here. You cannot change your sex through surgery. Your sex, you know, if you start out as a man and you have your male organ chopped off, guess what? You're a man without a male organ. You're still a man. News coverage of the issue has generated discussion and debate in the community before the bill has been heard in the legislature. Generally, the arguments against the measure range from concerns about altering government documents to worries about how people will abuse the law. Some people have said this is a trivial issue that should not be the focus of lawmakers, and some have argued that people should just accept the bodies and the gender they were born with and be happy with that. Some people have said they don't know where the Daily News editorial board gets enough straw to write this kind of an editorial. If you don't understand the straw man fallacy out there, folks, classic example. The straw man fallacy means if you don't have a strong argument, you take the best argument that you've got, you set it up, and then you beat it down, beating down the straw man. Acceptance seems to be the key to this issue. How well do we as a community accept people who are different from the majority? How do we treat people when we don't understand what they're going through? Can you play some sad music, Jose? There you go. People not affected by the issue might casually dismiss the discussion with a shrug and say, don't we have more important things to attend to? Things more people care about? Well, as per my chat with Chris, no, we don't have more important things. This in a way is the most important issue before us right now, because it contains the seeds to the death of our society as we know it. And it has snuck up on us. I have been sounding the warning for the last 5 or 6 years here. Frankfurt School, Antonio Gramsci, cultural Marxism, Herbert Marcuse, cultural Marxism, critical race theory, on and on and on, neo-Marxism. And here it is. These are not unconnected events. Create as much chaos as you can and destroy the society in existence so you can replace it with your Marxist dream world. Okay, the next part of the editorial is called The Importance of the Bill. For people who are living a reality that is different from the sex designated on their birth certificate, the issue is more than symbolic. Now, just let me stop and parse that sentence. For people who are living a reality that's different from the sex designated on their birth certificate, the issue is more than symbolic. I think that people who are living in their own reality, sometimes, Jose, that's a description of schizophrenia. It's not two personalities, but a different reality. You see things, you know things, you say things that are completely outside the realm of reality. Birth certificates are used to establish employment eligibility, and they can be used to obtain other documents necessary to live and work in modern society. At best, a sex designation that differs from someone's personal appearance will raise questions about the validity of the documents. You know, I have a driver's license. I had to renew my driver's license when I still had the beard. What should I do, Jose? Because I shaved the beard off now. So I don't look like that picture in my driver's license anymore. Should I go down and stand in line for another 4 hours and get another driver's license? Maybe I should have two, one with and one without, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Changing birth certificates. Some opponents of the measure argue that birth certificates are official documents that should not be altered or amended. They argue that if a child is born male, the record of birth should reflect that. If a child is born female, the record of birth should reflect that. It's a hard one to not agree with, Jose. That is the purpose of birth certificates. You know, when you're born, they take your little footprint and imprint it on the paper. We have doctors nowadays who can look at a baby and determine whether it's a male or a female. You don't need to send the baby, wait for 15 years and send the baby to a psychiatrist to figure out what sex the baby is. And that is who you are and who you will always be the rest of your life. Now, you can do a lot of pretending, and you could even alter your body to do a lot of pretending. You see these things online where some guy wanted to be a werewolf, so he had all his teeth pulled except his incisors, and he had them sharpened, right? And strange tattoos on his face.
People sometimes split their tongue to be like reptilians.
Exactly. And then there's a kid down the street who really got tied up in all of the Johnny Depp movies. What was his name? Jack Sparrow.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for Edward Scissorhands.
How come? That'll be the next one, yeah. Yeah. Johnny Depp and Jack Sparrow. And they wanted to be pirates. So they asked me if I could recommend they know I don't practice much anymore, if I could recommend a good lawyer who could sue their doctor because the doctor refused to amputate their son's left leg below the knee so he could put a peg leg on it, and refused to excise his right eye so he could run around with a patch. And then he also said that the boy wanted to change his name to Blackbeard. And he had to change the name petition in at the court. Yeah, that's pretty silly, isn't it?
Well, you don't want to hurt the kid's feelings, Bob.
Exactly. He lives in his own reality. And we have to be sympathetic to the reality in which he lives. And if changing a piece of paper will make him happy, what's the problem, right? Some opponents of the measure, as you were, birth records of birth are routinely changed when children are adopted. The original records are sealed, new birth certificates are issued, and no designation on the new certificate identifies any changes made. The child glancing at the birth certificate sees the adopted parent's name listed where the names of biological parents were once written. No school official, passport officer, employer, or anyone else looking at the new birth certificate will be any the wiser, and in most cases, the child won't even have access to the original record of his birth. Now, you know, of course, I have to say not the same. But it's so obviously not the same.
They didn't see that. That's the problem with this editorial.
Yeah.
They couldn't see how obvious that was so silly.
Yeah. So fundamentally flawed. I mean, and if they can make mistakes like this, No wonder their stories come out so screwed up sometimes, because they don't have a very adequate thought process, or it's overcome by their narrative, right? Genetically, of course, the biological parents remain the biological parents, but the official record is changed to reflect the people involved, the family members in question, are living their lives. Well, actually, there is a legal reason for that, because in the eyes of the law, a child who is adopted steps into the shoes of someone who was the natural offspring of the parents as far as inheritance, duties of care, everything else. It's exactly the same. But when you change somebody's birth certificate who was born with male plumbing to say that he is a female, it's just a whole different world. Why wouldn't we do this to reflect the life being lived by the individual listed on the birth certificate? Whose business is the certificate of birth? Whose business is it, right?
This goes back to that article you read yesterday from, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it, that had that quoted Pope Benedict and all those others about,
oh yeah,
about your liberties that also are connected to other people.
Yeah, that, and
a birth certificate doesn't exist in a vacuum.
No, that was the article about state radio.
Yeah,
NPR,
right?
Yeah.
But that very, very, to me, a lasting impression about responsibility and living in a society. You know, you may be libertarian, but you're not the only person on in this planet or this world. You have to work with everybody around here. And you can't just say, I want my birth certificate to reflect that I'm a unicorn.
Exactly.
It has ramifications.
Exactly. Parkinson's proposal has been criticized by people who say the government has more important issues to tend to. Not me, not you, and not Chris Duenas, Jose. The crime, the condition of schools, inflation, the economy, these all affect more people. Well, maybe, maybe not. The issue may not personally affect everyone on island yet, but is of critical importance to a few, and the government exists for all of the people. Wow. Our lawmakers routinely honor individuals, and we have resolutions, declarations, and proclamations to recognize achievements. We create programs to help the less fortunate, and we rally to support causes. When we say that someone's issues aren't important, we're saying the people involved aren't important. And that's the other side of this, Jose. From some of the stuff I've read, a lot of people see that they clothe themselves in an aura of importance by embracing this fiction, that it gives parents bragging rights. Well, you know, Johnny is 13 years old now, and you know how we've always wanted a daughter. Johnny may become Joni. Oh, really, Susie? That's so wonderful. This kind of stuff is. And among some young folks, it's kind of the in thing, you know?
I know it's kind of a joke, but are we now going to save reveal parties till they're 21? The gender reveal party?
Yeah. Right.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know yet. He's only 15. Or they're only 15, right? All of our people are important. This bill costs nothing and affects nobody other than the individual who wants to make the change. Why wouldn't we be in support of it? The phantom of the restroom. That's the next part of the editorial. And then there's the argument that this bill will allow a clever prevert with an amended birth certificate to infiltrate a women's restroom. Doesn't happen, does it? How does those stories keep getting in the newspaper all the time?
Straw man.
Yeah. As though there is a sentry at the door checking documents. Unfortunately, a lot of us on Guam are all too knowledgeable about sex violence. We know that amended birth certificates have nothing to do with the abuse we see in our community.
How are they citing something that's as a fact when it hasn't even happened yet?
Yeah. A symbol on a bathroom door won't stop it, and a change on a government document won't encourage it. Parkinson's bill will allow documents to reflect the lives people are living, and that will help protect them from violence and discrimination. You know, I've always had a certain amount of admiration for Carlo Ponzi. And, you know, I don't look much like Carlo Ponzi, but I could change my name to Carlo Ponzi and start this investment firm, right? That would be the life I wanted to live. So everybody should move out of the way for me, right?
It's the life you want to live.
This is an important function of government. Okay, I've still got a lot more to say on this, but I've got another Joe in the green room. We'll entertain another Joe right after the break.
Hakaday. This is Claire Manglona from Security Title with an important warning. Wire fraud is real, and home buyers and sellers are one of the biggest targets, even on Guam. When sending money by wire transfer, be sure to confirm the wire instructions by phone, not email. In this case, it's good to be suspicious and know who you're dealing with. Let the professionals at Security Title work with you to minimize loss due to wire fraud. We are here to help.
Join us at Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro and see why they've been crowned Guam's best Chamorro food restaurant for 9 consecutive years. Experience Chef Peter's candied salmon over scallion coconut rice, octopus tinactac, Chamorro platter, and their award-winning gourmet burgers. Or if you're looking for something healthy, try their keto-friendly menu. Come and enjoy Mezcla's half-a-day service at their Hagåtña location from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch, 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. for dinner, or 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. for their famous Sunday brunch.
Okay, so here we are. Ironically, I'm going to move on to the letter from Maria Delfina Canata, which I started on yesterday's card. But another Joe wants to talk about Maria Delfina Canata. Go ahead, another Joe.
Hey, Bob. I'm sorry if I'm taking time that you're going to spend on it, but so we all know of individuals, relatives, friends, relatives who have alternative lifestyles, and usually stateside in American English-speaking culture, we are more aware of them, like say in a circus or in a professional wrestling entertainment. But what thing we're seeing more often is insisting on it being something that is normal or usual, which it isn't. It's more like an anomaly, like you said, it was a small percentage. But it's not to say they're bad, it's just they have an alternative lifestyle. So what's changing is, I'm thinking with more a younger generation being convinced, or you would say brainwashed, into believing that they should be seen, heard the way they and addressed the way they wish to be. There's open confrontation, and so there's a lot of confusion, and there are certain groups who want to take advantage of that confusion, creating chaos, and there is the problem, Bob, because as you said, there has been violent cases, and we should probably point out to the author of this editorial, Maria Canata, known as Maria Canata. Sorry, was it Delfina Canata? That there have been cases where the young generation of trans are committing violent crimes. So I just thought I'd chime in on that, Bob.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for calling in, another Joe. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And let's see, I've got Repeat on the line here who'll probably say everything twice. Go ahead, Repeat.
Today, Uncle Bob, I heard you reading this editorial yesterday, I think it was.
Uh-huh.
And when you talked about, the big 6-foot plus frame,
Yeah.
it reminded me of a story, or actually an incident that I experienced back when, you remember the club Double A?
Down in the west side?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember it. I heard of it.
Yeah, it was a local hangout. That's where all the Chamorro bands were playing. But anyways, I go there for a riot, and there's this tiny little guy that was so feisty, and I told him to, stand to the side while I talked to the other party. And he kept coming from behind and trying to get at the guy. And, you're from Agat? I'm from Yamadak? This and that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I turned around and I grabbed him by the collar and I said, hey, listen to me. I'm telling you to wait. And right then, this ginormous individual says, hey, let go of my husband, right? So I was like, no wonder why this little twerp was so, rambunctious, because it's got his big backer over here. So it just reminded me of that. I was like, that might have been this person.
Oh, you mean the one that Maria Delfina Canata?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be, but
Yeah.
it was this ginormous person that with this huge husky voice that says, let go of my husband.
Uh-huh.
So that's why he was being so rambunctious and brave, because he had his backer there.
Uh-huh. Makes sense, Pete. Well, looks can be deceiving, right?
Yeah. I was wondering, why is this tiny little twerp being so, wants to fight? And then, because the other guy could have tied him in knots. But then I realized, unfortunately, after the fact, after I laid hands on him, that he had his backer there.
Did she threaten to hit him with her? Did he threaten to hit him with her purse?
She did.
Okay, Repeat. Thanks for calling.
Está.
Yeah, some interesting stories came out of the West Side back in the day about people who thought that they had met females and were looking for some female companionship, and the disappointment when things turned out to be a little different than appearances.
Now they'll have a birth certificate to say, that's not true?
Exactly.
Look at my birth certificate.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so yesterday I started on the letter from Maria Delfina Canata to the Daily News, and this is all part of the same thing. They ran this letter, and at the appropriate time, I'll tell you what they didn't run. But they did run this. Okay, so this is Maria Delfina Canata, and his picture's in the paper. If you happen to look at well, it's not in the paper, it's in the online edition of the Daily News. Daily News is not a newspaper anymore. And she said, bottom line, this bill corrects unnecessary government overreach. I am born and raised in southern, and there's all of this stuff, etc. She breaks her rap down into barbarias, and she gets all the way up to three of them, three barbarias, barbarias. And she says, barbarias number one, the bill will force being trans on our children, and they're going to change their genitals. Barbarias number two, this is outsider stuff and has no place in Guam. No more Todu Barbarias. If anything is from outside of Guam, it's needlessly categorizing people in order to make their life harder, or worse, drawing distinctions to oppress people. Drawing distinctions, as you were. This is toxic, colonized thinking and perpetuates half a millennium of other people telling us how to live. And I mentioned yesterday when I got to this part of the letter, of course, the first person in any argument, the first person who accuses the other one of being a colonizer picks up the marbles and goes home. He won the argument, right?
Except he used the wrong quote.
Yeah.
Thanks to Mark yesterday pointing out that your meaning, I don't think Matapa means what you think it means.
Yeah. Yeah. Barbarias, number 3, the bill will let sexual predators use the bathroom to sexually assault our most vulnerable groups, wives, children, the elderly. Absolutely no, the most todo barbarias of all. This one hits many trans people close to home because I don't know a single trans person who hasn't been physically, verbally, or sexually assaulted themselves while trying to use the restroom, or in my case, all 3. The way the bill is written, someone would need to have a medical professional. Well, let me skip over that part. This fear is completely unfounded for a few reasons. One, trans people as a group are probably afraid or at least avoiding to use public restrooms. I know I am sometimes, at least to dodge drama surrounding my need to evacuate my bladder. Most of the time, it's easier to hold it despite the abominable pain than to deal with a Karen.
Seriously, and this is not to knock anyone's fears or experiences, but they're talking about something that no document is going to change.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense whatsoever.
It does not.
And yeah, I'm even going to talk about this straw man argument, but it doesn't connect with what they're trying to talk about here.
Well, what we need, Jose, is we need to change the birth certificate, and then the government needs to issue every one of these folks, the transgender folks, a little card like a credit card that's got the scan, the little chip on it, or the magnetic strip, and then every sex distinguished facility needs to have a card reader. So when this gal goes to the ladies' room, he can stick his card in there, and the card reader will say, "Oh yeah, he's got a male birth certificate." And pop the door open. It's silly.
That's going to be a third ID.
Yeah.
Because they probably can't call it a real ID.
No. So then we go on. Women in Manamco may be safer using a restroom with a trans woman because All right, let's come back here right after the big halftime show.
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 93.3 FM and 104.3 HD3.
Murphy Monahan faces second-degree murder charges for the fatal shooting of 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis. And in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, an amazing double overtime game between the Minnesota Wild and Dallas Stars.
And shot, score! It's over! And who does it but Hartman?
That call on ESPN2 as the Wild beat the Stars 3-2. Carolina, Los Angeles, and Boston also winners on night 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. America's listening to Fox News.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they will continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $4,100 by calling Family Finance in Hagåtña at 671-475-4545, Upper Tumon 671-647-5626, or in Dededo 671-633-4473.
Listen to The Point anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Find your favorite stations like The Point and discover more. Music stations, local and trusted news sources, sports talk and team coverage, plus today's biggest podcasts. Find it all on the Odyssey app. AUDACY.
Download it now.
U.S. is in damage control. Deputy Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh comments about the ongoing investigation of the classified documents leaked from the Pentagon, allegedly by 21-year-old Air National Guardsman Jack Teixeira.
There could be more documents that are being circulated online. That is something that this investigation is looking into. That's something that the department is looking into.
And Teixeira is charged with unauthorized retention and transmission of classified documents. If convicted, he could get 15 years in prison. Republican Congressman George Santos announces he will run for re-election despite critics calling for him to resign.
The Republican congressman representing parts of Long Island and Queens has had a challenging history with the truth, totally fabricating virtually all parts of his background, from lying on his resume about his work experience and education to lying about being Jewish, his family being victims of the Holocaust, and his mother being killed on 9/11. Despite the disgrace, with a smile on his face today, he announced he is running for re-election.
It's a beautiful day here in Washington, D.C. It's a great day to be an American. It's a great day to be a Republican, and it's a great day to announce re-election.
Reaction to his announcement of his running for re-election is doing something we do not see happen very much these days. Mainly, it is unifying Republicans and Democrats as they denounce Santos.
Fox 5 New York's Arthur Cheen. And DeSantis is also under investigation for financing of his 2022 campaign. Outlook is not so good for the North American bat. Some scientists are sounding the alarm about their future. And a report published by the North American Bat Conservation Alliance, they say that the bat population is at risk of greatly diminishing over the next 15 years because of disease, habitat loss, and also they're blaming climate change. And that is bad news for agriculture because bats eat so many crop-destroying insects. I'm Carmen Roberts, and this is Fox News.
Always here to help you. This island is our home. Through the years, we've been a friend to the neighbors we have known. Now we're banking on the future. Services to choose. Bank Pacific, where others put branches, we place roots.
Join us at Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro and see why they've been crowned Guam's best Chamorro food restaurant for 9 consecutive years. Experience Chef Peter's candied salmon over scallion coconut rice, octopus tinactac, Chamorro platter, and their award-winning gourmet burgers. Or if you're looking for something healthy, try their keto-friendly menu. Come and enjoy Mezcla's half-a-day service at their Hagatnya location from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch, 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. for dinner, or 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. for their famous Sunday brunch.
Half a day. This is Clara Manglona from Security Title with an important warning. Wire fraud is real, and home buyers and sellers are one of the biggest targets, even on Guam. When sending money by wire transfer, be sure to confirm the wire instructions by phone, not email. In this case, it's good to be suspicious and know who you're dealing with. Let the professionals at Security Title work with you to minimize loss due to wire fraud. We are here to help.
So here we are, another show, another display of the Tall Tales Rogues Gallery. Pretty exciting, pretty interesting, Jose. So you know what I'm going to ask you to do, so go for it, Jose.
You too can be a part of the Tailgaters. The Tall Tales I'm a Tailgater Rogues Gallery. Just go to thepoint.gu, the official website of this radio station. You'll find a picture of the T-shirt sporting a beard. Click on that link or that picture, and it'll bring you to where you can order your shirt. When it arrives, put it on, take a selfie, and send that selfie to the Point's WhatsApp at 671-797-8255. And you too could be a part of the Tall Tales Rogues Gallery.
Very good, Jose. That's really good news. Telling people how they can get on Rogues Gallery is good news. Now, I know you've got some bad news you want to share with the tailgating international audience of tailgaters, so go ahead.
It's a repeat of yesterday. So just got a word from the Guam Power Authority that there's going to be a potential load shedding tonight starting at 6 o'clock. It's going to be about an hour long. There's about 3 sessions of it. I think you can find these documents on people's chats. They're going to start putting it out there because it's a long list. I'm not going to go through it. But starting at 6 o'clock, in hour increments, 3 sessions of load shedding.
Yeah. Could you tell whoever sent it to you to spare Jigo this time?
Absolutely, because I got that connect.
Yeah, I've got some really important business to transact tonight.
We could avoid this by everyone turning off their air conditioner at 5:45.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm back to the letter to the editor by Maria Delfina Quinata. And she's in her third of 3 barbarias. And she says, women in Manamku may be safer using a restroom with a trans woman because I would have no problem putting the 6-foot+ beauty that is me between a prevert and a woman bringing that creep to the ground. So she's a 6-foot man dressed like a woman. And generally, trans people are very helpful. So if an elderly person needs assistance, we jump in to help if they ask. I'm an elderly person, Jose.
I'm not going to ask.
No, I don't.
Excuse me, sir. Do you need help? Can you please leave the stall? But do you need help?
For the practical implications of this bill and how it would make life easier and safer for trans people, I recommend taking a look at my sister, Wilhelmina, at what my sister Wilhelmina has been saying to the press. She offers candid insight as to how much this is a small change to the law, wow, will have a positive impact on trans people on Guam. In closing, Chetla, fight to make our lives easier and safer as trans people, like how we fight for you. You don't need to fight for me. I'll take care of myself. Trust us when we say we need this very small change to help us. Embrace core Chamorro and Guam values by supporting this bill and perpetuating our true culture of love, acceptance, and looking after our own. Se Dios ma'ase for reading this, and I look forward to a better future for all of us here in Guam. From beautiful Homatak, Maria. Quite a letter. Yeah.
I see, Maria. You know what? It's again, even not even knowing what the subject matter is about, this letter is easily taken apart because of all the fallacies in here, especially the inconsistencies from I'm not strong enough to protect myself to I can protect myself and other people at the same time.
And I'll beat you up.
Yeah, and I'll beat you up for it too. This is an example of there is no substance to it, but because it fits the systemic racism of what's going on right now, it gets published.
Yep. This is a classic case of systemic racism, which I didn't get into today. But here it is, once again, The rice is orange. The narrative says it's red. You know, the guy is a guy. Yeah, that's the color of the rice. He's orange. But he wants the whole world to change so that the whole world will recognize him as red, even going to the point of changing one of the most important documents that governments keep, birth certificates. Yeah. Okay, next, in this same vein here, I've got an article that ran in Red State. Anheuser-Busch puts out a new statement on Dylan Mulvaney that will make no one happy. Dylan Mulvaney. And by the way, you know, Jose, when I used to talk about the card, and I used to say, you know, we've got the Post and the Daily News, and they write editorials, and I go through the editorials with my blue pencil. I don't know why I still bring it. My blue pencil, and I mark them up, and I correct the usage, the grammar, the vocabulary, whatever. And when I'm finished, I will award the coveted blue star to the better of the two. And when I do, if you were standing outside the door of the winning newspaper's editorial boardroom, out there in the hall, you could hear the champagne corks popping. I've got to modernize that. One, there's no more Post editorials. And two, if you were standing outside the door of the Daily News editorial boardroom on that extremely rare occasion when they get a blue star, you wouldn't hear champagne corks popping. You'd hear cans of Bud Light popping. Yeah. Anheuser-Busch puts out a new statement on Dylan Mulvaney that will make no one happy. Anheuser-Busch is starting to realize that its dive into the pool of wokeness was a major mistake. As Red State reported, sales of Bud Light have crashed since the beer brand decided to celebrate Dylan Mulvaney's supposed 365th day of girlhood. He's a guy, but he wants you to know that he's been a girl for a whole year. By printing his face on the side of a can and making him a brand influencer. You know, the only way I could see that guy is being a brand influencer. I don't drink beer anymore, but any more of this would be enough to make even me start drinking. Wow. Things have gotten so bad for Bud Light that all advertising for the beer has been suspended until the top executives can evaluate what in the world happened here and how to move forward. Of course, we know what happened. A far-left vice president of advertising got hired and immediately nuked the company with its most loyal customer base, namely white men who aren't really into the man pretending to be a young girl thing. Now the CEO of Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light's parent company, is speaking out directly. Anheuser-Busch has finally released a statement, and it's just as clumsy and stupid as the marketing stunt that got them in the mess in the first place. And here's how it goes. We're honored to be a part of the fabric of this country. Anheuser-Busch employs more than 18,000 people, and our independent distributors employ an additional 47,000 valued colleagues. We have thousands of partners, millions of fans, and a proud history supporting our communities, military, first, blah, blah. We never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. Whoa. We are in the business of bringing people together over a beer. My time serving in this country taught me the importance of accountability and the basis upon which America was founded. Free men, hard work, and respect for one another. As CEO, I care deeply about this country, this company, our brands, and our partners. I spend many time traveling across America, listening to and learning from our customers, distributors, and others. Moving forward, I will continue to work tirelessly to bring great beers to across our country. What did he say? He must have had Kamala Harris ghostwrite this for him. He didn't say anything. This is a statement that is going to make absolutely no one happy. And it's another long line of missteps that Anheuser-Busch has made since the beginning of this controversy. When speaking of conservative reactions, it's nice that CEO Brendan Whitworth, it's Brendan, not Brandon. However, he could probably beat it down to the courthouse in St. Louis and change his name from Brendan to Brandon. And then I'll say goodbye to him every day. Let's see here. When speaking of conservative reactions, it's nice that CEO Brendan Whitworth is admitting his company got involved in something it should have never been involved in. He described it as a divisive issue, yet the statement lacks any direct admission that the Mulvaney stunt alienated customers. Boy, did it. Further, why has the executive at fault not been fired yet? She's cost the company millions of dollars at this point. Is performance not a factor for upward echelons of Anheuser? Whitworth said some good things about bringing people together, but when there's no action following his words, it comes across as an attempt to brush the entire ordeal under the rug.
Even worse, he skirted the issue.
Yeah, after they figuratively caught Anheuser-Busch with their pants down, Jose. As to left-wing reactions, we know that those will be. Anheuser-Busch has just unleashed a whirlwind with its half-hearted apology over Mulvaney, and now they will take incoming from the LGBT lobby, bolstered by mainstream press that does not take kindly to companies that don't toe the line. And you know what? Anheuser-Busch deserves it. These major corporations keep trying to pander to the left, often spitting in the face of their customers in the process. Why refuse to learn the lesson? Why let far-left cultural insanity rule the day instead of good business sense? And we know the reasons. The Human Rights Committee. We covered that the other day, their social credit score. We know why, because these companies are scared to death of the backlash they'll receive. Bowing to the woke mob was their choice. But in this case, Anheuser-Busch has done nothing but lose its customer base while still infuriating the far left they were trying to appease. In the end, I don't feel the least bit sorry for them. Okay, so let's see. If I've got Miss Brendan, it's repeat again. Let's see, what does he want to talk about on the topics? Go ahead, repeat. You can repeat.
All right. I always try to look for a silver lining. Hopefully, my taste for Budweiser has not changed. Hopefully, we'll see a drop in price.
Yeah, market factors.
Yes, and it's happy hour, and I'm going to go and ask, the people that I'm going to join, to use Budweiser in a sentence, and if they can't, I'm going to suggest, she's real pretty. Budweiser Adam apple so big.
Yeah, good call. Now, if I were going to talk about this as far as going for a cool one, and if I still did that, I'd walk in and I'd say, do you serve Bud Light here? And if the answer is yes, I'd say, I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere else. I'm not woke. I come for beer, not for propaganda. But that's just me. That's just me, Pete.
Yeah, I can understand that, but at the end of the day, the pocketbook counts, and if I could get Bud Light at half price, I'm all for it.
Well, and then the other thing is that even in my drinking days, I never drank Budweiser. Not when you got Schlitz, beer, Miller's, old style. Leinen, Kugels, Yingling, all of these really great beers made in Wisconsin. Who would want to drink a beer made in Missouri? It doesn't make sense.
You know, I think I'm going to put a post on Facebook. Whoever is so mad and wants to get rid of their Bud Light, give me the address. I'll come pick it up.
Okay.
I'll take it off your hands.
A true capitalist, repeat. Thanks again for chiming in. Yeah, that guy, you know, and he gets tired of being a lawyer. You know what he could do, Jose? He could become a talk show host. It worked for me.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
It's all about repeating.
Exactly. It's all about knowing how many times to say something. So, you know, I titled this on the card yesterday before it expanded. I titled it, where in the hell is that page? It's going to be a thick file here. I titled it Maria Delfina Quinata versus Blackface. Now, probably folks out there in Tall Gator Nation are wondering where Bob got the blackface from. So here's where the blackface comes in, Jose. This is an article by Madeline Kearns that ran in National Review, which is always worth reading. And Madeline's article is titled, Transgenderism is the New Blackface. I think I've heard you say the same thing.
Yeah, it's a little more nuanced. I was referring to specifically drag queen shows, but it's the same, around the same theme.
Yeah. In the 19th and 20th centuries, minstrel shows featuring white actors in blackface, dark makeup worn to make them look black, spread throughout the United States. This practice was laughed off as entertainment. Today it's considered to be racial appropriation and stereotyping. But aren't men who impersonate women similarly guilty of appropriation and stereotyping? If blackface is racist, then surely woman face is sexist. Theatrical cross-dressing has been around for centuries. On the stage, these performances were often ironic and humorous. You remember Some Like It Hot? Jack Lemmon and
Marilyn Monroe and, yeah, I can't remember the other guy.
Tony Curtis?
I think so.
Yeah.
Sure.
But there's also a more sinister, and this was comedy. Some Like It Hot was comedy. Bert Lahr at the end of the movie. I don't know how I can remember some of these things, you know, but at the end of the movie, Jack Lemmon confesses, and he said, I don't remember the guy's name. Let's say it was Joe. You know, Joe, I'm a man. I'm not really a woman. And the Bert Lahr character says, well, nobody's perfect. And I think there's a little bit more meaning to that than I recognized when I saw the movie. Theatrical cross-dressing has been around for centuries. And I got to point this out. You know, even here on the island, I can remember going to different kinds of events, like maybe a Rotary dinner or something like that. And the entertainment was guys that you knew dressing up like women and exaggerating, prancing around. Oh, this is so funny. Yeah.
They are caricatures.
Exactly. On the stage, these performances were often ironic and humorous, but there is also a more sinister kind of female impersonation, one that serves to advance the anti-woman ideology of transgenderism. Now, this is Madeline Kearns that's writing this, right? It was not uncommon in minstrel shows for white people to portray African Americans as ignorant and criminal, reinforcing racist sentiments. And with transgenderism, it's not uncommon for men to portray women as hypersexualized and airheaded. Yeah. Like, did you hear about the transgender that went into the library, Jose? And walked up to the counter and said to the librarian, "I'd like a Big Mac, an order of fries, and a Coke." And the librarian said, "This is the library." And the transgender said, "Oh, sorry, man. I'd like a Big Mac, an order of fries, and a Coke." Airheaded.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Perhaps the most prominent example is the Jim Crow of woman face, Dylan Mulvaney, the male TikTok influencer, currently on his tour celebrating 365 days of girlhood. Mulvaney has enjoyed phenomenal success. He has been picked up by major brands, from Bud Light to Kate Spade, but many women find his prancing around in dresses and carrying tampons to be deeply insulting. He also models bras. Did you know that? I saw that somewhere.
Nike gave it to him, yeah.
What does he, yeah, that's right, sports bras, right? What does he know about female experiences? On social media, some women have responded by celebrating their days of womanhood. One social media user wrote that she has been a woman for 27,088 days. "I've given birth to 2 boys, miscarried once, survived breast cancer. A man can never be a woman." Let me repeat that. A man can never be a woman. Another wrote, "Today I celebrate 21,191 days being a woman. I have 3 beautiful children. I have also suffered 2 miscarriages." Another woman celebrating 12,065 days of being a woman wrote, "I'm a sister, aunt, daughter, granddaughter, and now a mother. I've endured 229 menstrual cycles. I've been pregnant one time and gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. My body grew a human child, and my body is now feeding a human child. No man can say he has done these things because you cannot change your gender." How nice. So basic, so basic. Another woman wrote, "I celebrate 20,756 days of being a woman. I'm a former women's college athlete, a daughter, a sister, and a lesbian who has survived breast cancer and been through nearly menopause, early menopause. Obviously, there are challenges and sacrifices unique to being a woman. Being a woman, by definition, means having feet on women's clothing. Others are opportunistic, and have figured out it's easier to win sympathy or sports competitions by impersonating a female. With blackface, we don't discriminate based on a person's intentions. When Rachel Dolezal identified as black, despite having no black ancestry, going so far to change her hair and darken her skin, she was widely condemned. Former president of the Spokane NAACP. She had no ill intent. She merely identified as black. Besides, race is arguably much more of a social construct than sex is. Yet for some reason with sex, it's a different story. Female impersonators are not only tolerated, they're glorified as representing the pinnacle of womanhood. Unless we're talking about real female impersonators. You know, and every big city would always have a nightclub. I've never been there, Jose.
I believe you.
But it was famous. It was a famous place because it was so biological essentialism. The idea that a woman's behavior, interests, and abilities are all predetermined by sex. Some made the mistake of conflating sex with sexism and attacking both. That one sex cannot become the other and that it's harmful to pretend otherwise. Perhaps the greatest silver lining of the transgender movement has been how it exposes the follies of disregarding sex and sexual differences. Woman face is the new blackface. It's time to get out.
You need to protect yourself and your family. With ProSay 101, you can access a variety of do-it-yourself legal documents to save you time and money. Wills, trusts, divorce, power of attorney, and much more. They also offer free marriage and relationship counseling. Call 800-303-9240 to learn more. That's 800-303-9240. Or visit PROSE101.com.
Okay, so here we are at Wrigley Field, and I look around the stands, and I see people that are drinking Miller beer. Yeah, I don't see anybody drinking Budweiser, Jose. Now, what set this whole set of part of Tall Tales off was the editorial in the Daily News prompted by Maria, what's-her-face, Kanata's letter to the editor. And I go back again to Voltaire. The more often a stupidity is repeated, the more it gets the appearance of wisdom. So the Daily News, the editor of the Daily News, took it upon herself to run this letter and this editorial, which is as woke as you can possibly get, repeating the stupidity. We can only suppose that the reason that it's being repeated is because it's part of the narrative. And I mentioned at the very beginning, I said that it's interesting that they would run this, especially when you see what they won't run. And this is what they wouldn't run. This is an editorial that's in today's Post, the only newspaper on Guam. It's a letter to the editor by Tim Rohr. And it starts out, April is World Autism Month. The site autismspeaks.org proclaims, quote, throughout the month we focus on coming together in unity and collaboration for fostering worldwide support, sharing stories, and connecting to create a more inclusive world. Well, this is the kind of inclusiveness, you know, I can get on the right side of, Jose. If you know Tim, Tim's a darn good writer, right? He's, whatever he writes, you know, if this column, his letter is no exception. It's very interesting. It's well written. You read it, you'll learn something. He wouldn't run it.
It's not enough that they're no longer in circulation. Now they're not going to want any more people to to even click on it. And it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
And very relevant to today.
It is. Yeah, the name addresses an important subject. It's well written. It's not inflammatory. He's not trying to advance his own agenda. Let's see, I've got another Mark, and he wants to talk about the new blackface, and then we'll go from there to Churchill Downs. Afternoon, Mark. Right.
Okay. Now a woman cannot be a woman unless the woman's a man. And basically throughout my high school diploma and college degree, because what they're telling me is what it is to be a woman. Okay? I remember this in the 70s, and I know you do too. Renee Rack, and then they decided, okay, Billie Jean King says, we'll do an exhibition. She smoked it. And, you know, there were a few points there, but still, it wasn't even close. But it's hard for me to believe, but one person actually said that if a man can get pregnant, don't you think someone way back in the 70s and 80s and 90s would have done it? Because
agrees. I think that Parkinson has not gone far enough. That the universe.
The way I feel about Chili Willie don't make no sense about anything. He just wants the clicks.
Hey, Mark, I gotta go. Thanks for calling.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Wow. The all-girls school on Guam is a private religious high school.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a number of... is this now going to be entertained in those schools?
I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet where, so yeah, this all, you know, I know I'm where you look. Everything that you thought you knew turns out to be not true after all. If you pick up this stuff, and are repeating it. But when you come right down to it, it's sexual anarchy. And choose wisely, choose life, choose God, the true lover of your soul. And of course, and I always come back to Edmund Burke, the British parliamentarian, who said that I want to get out of here because I don't support that kind of crap, and I'm not going to do business with you. Okay.
Or if you're looking for something healthy, try their keto-friendly menu. Come and enjoy Mezcla's Half a Day service at their Hagåtña location from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch, 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. for dinner, or 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. for their famous Sunday brunch.
Half a day. This is Clara Manglonia from Security Title with an important warning. Wire fraud is real, and home buyers and sellers are one of the biggest targets, even on Guam. When sending money by wire transfer, be sure to confirm the wire instructions by phone, not email. In this case, it's good to be suspicious and know who you're dealing with. Let the professionals at Security Title work with you to minimize loss due to wire fraud. We are here to help.
Wrap up another exciting, elucidating, interesting, educational episode of Tall Tales. 2 more weeks to sign lease. The deadline for the government of Guam to sign a lease for Eagles Field has been a medical complex will be constructed, including a new hospital and other health care facilities. Nicholson initially gave Gov. Guadalupe, other than to say that there was no word. So it's not, Jose, it's not what Guadalupe said by the latter on the same day. Now, I think I've probably done enough glow, kind of like transgenders, kind of like Maria Kanata. And, you know, I've heard people say, oh, they're a good idea what I'm saying, unless you paid too much for that used car. You have to be a little bit the prisoner's dilemma, if you understand the prisoner's dilemma. If you don't, tomorrow I'll explain the prisoner's dilemma. more than the other or helps one side more than the other. And the one who benefits from deadlock wants to set a deadlock. If we have deadlock at that time, don't be surprised if that deadlock is made out of firm jello. There's Officer Lieutenant Commander Kathleen Koenig. Following the governor's request Friday, the Office of the Secretary in negotiation is what's called the remote principle. So the negotiator goes in and negotiates a little. Maybe I could, but maybe not. You got to run that risk, but let's pull it back just a bit. So, right? Well, here you're seeing the remote principle in operation. Admiral Nicholson said, I don't have the, you think. Isn't that exactly what happened?
To the T.
Yeah, exactly what happened. They delegated the authority to him. And you notice things just like that. So I think I've probably gloated enough, Jose. Yeah. Nicholson was pleased to allow additional time for their teams